It's so exciting. Hello, Darren.
Hi, Darren.
The Beatles have released just today a new version of Got to Get You Into My Life. How would you like to respond to that song whilst we listen to it through the medium of art and paint?
I would love to. Let's do it.
Let's do it. I think I've just done the best painting of my life.
That's pretty good, that.
I'm really, really pleased with the painting.
That's really nice.
Yeah. What do I think of it? It's going to be a conversation not dissimilar to our conversation. Well, there are some differences between the Queen thing we did the other week. This is not a new song, is it? It's a song we've known most of our lives.
Yeah.
I actually have a distinct memory of hearing this song for the first time.
Do you?
I think, yeah, I do. I was in a car. I was in my friend Philip's car, and I think it was the first time I'd seen 8-track cartridge. But I think as we all get into the Beatles, I reckon there's probably there's probably lots of pivotal experiences, but there's two pivotal experiences. One is when you first hear the Beatles and think, well, that's good. And I think there's another experience, which I had a couple of times, is when you hear something and somebody tells you it's the Beatles and you go, is that the Beatles?
Yeah.
And I think Got to Get You Into My Life was the first time, or one of the first times that had happened, where I went like, this is the Beatles. It's like, well, it can't be. It's got loads of brass. It's got this jaunty sort of Motown rhythm. And it doesn't sound like I Want to Hold Your Hand. So I don't understand. The other time that happened was when an art teacher played Within You, Without You in school. And we were like, nah, that ain't the Beatles.
My first hearing of Got to Get You Into My Life wasn't the Beatles version.
Ah.
It was the Earth, Wind and Fire version.
Ah.
So when I first heard the Beatles version, I didn't like it. And I still maintain that Earth, Wind and Fire's version is better.
I maintain that there's a fair few Beatles covers that excel the original. Actually, there's a few Beatles songs covers that I really really like, but that's okay as well. That's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they wrote so many. Share it out a bit, you know.
Yeah. Well, what about this version then?
Well, I feel like even this isn't the first time I've heard a different version of "Got to Get You Into My Life," and I'm not encyclopedic of my knowledge of the Beatles, although I expect I'm probably a bigger than average Beatles fan.
Right.
But now, you know, you go on. You know, do you know those guys? Nothing Is Real, that podcast.
Yes.
They're those. You know, I mean, those guys. They spent 3 hour-long episodes just on Hey Jude, and it's amazing as well. They're really great. They're
one of those guys bought my painting of Brian Wilson.
Oh, great! One of those guys also follows me, and I sometimes engage with. So I guess we could just pretend they're our friends, right?
Yeah, friends of the show.
Yeah. Yeah, their podcast is brilliant and not nearly as boring as I just made it sound. 3 hours on Hey Jude is time well spent. So I can't tell you exactly what I've heard before, but I'm thinking there's a version of this on Anthology.
I bet there is
another version of this which is somewhere between the version we have and this version. And
there must be a few versions floating around the internet, mustn't there?
Yeah. So I think that's kind of interesting because I think that like the Anthology series, which was 6 CDs of unreleased Beatles stuff, I think at the time we were led to believe that this is it. We're clearing out the vault. You know, everything must go. Here is all the Beatles stuff. Here is all of it.
Yep.
And yet here we are now, you know, listening to, you know, 6 CD versions of the White Album. They've done the White Album, haven't they? They've done Get Back, I think, or Let It Be in an extended version.
Yeah.
And it seems strange that I would start to. It would seem strange to my younger self that I would start to feel slightly blasé about this.
Well, as it's turning out with quite a few bands, older bands these days, the barrel is much deeper than we were made to think, and they continue to scrape that bottom until it gets deeper and deeper.
I've never had the pleasure of recording at Abbey Road, but I've mastered there.
Right.
A few times, more than a few times, in fact. And when you master on those desks with those, you know, you've seen. Oh, look at that! Look, I've just put my fingerprint on there, but I don't worry. I'm sure I've just made it better. Those clunky.
Don't mess with it, Darren.
Those big clunky faders, you know, that you see McCartney on, the sort of curve things. And I was talking there to a mastering engineer, and I now looking back, then I believed him, but now looking back, I'm wondering whether he was just winding me up. But he was actually describing the vault. The Beatles vault that was at the bottom of Abbey Road, you know. Yeah, it can survive a nuclear war, you know, the walls are this thick, you know, it needs eye recognition software to get in. He didn't, I mean, that's a lot of that I'm making up, but he did sort of describe this place. And I wonder whether now he was just telling a yarn that he told every impressionable young band that came into master. So bearing that in mind, and all of that background I put to my reaction, it's another version of Got to Get You Into My Life. I mean, that's what I think of it. It's another version.
It sounded very Rubber Soul-y.
Yeah.
It was, especially with the guitar, the fuzzy guitar was doing the some of the brass lines. That reminded me of The Word.
Yeah. And what is that sound? Are you good enough? It sounds like that kind of fuzz guitar where they're overdriving the desk rather than an amp. It sounds like straight to desk sound, doesn't it?
I'm not an expert by any means, but there were very few fuzz sounds around then. You had Satisfaction, which was a pedal. It's not a million miles away from the Satisfaction fuzz sound, but it could be a same pedal, or it's in the desk and just pushing it. Yeah, but in the desk tends to be, it's very fizzy sound, isn't it?
I describe the desk distortion, and I use it myself. I like to distort things like not through a traditional guitar way, and I find it gives a very sort of even, straight ahead distortion.
Yeah.
It is interesting to hear a different version of a Beatles song. We know them inside out, and it's such a peculiar cult that surrounds the Beatles.
Yeah.
That, there's nothing else quite like it in terms of a band that's under so much scrutiny. And I was thinking about coming into this video and saying to you, do you think the Beatles are a bit overrated? Because I do think they're a bit overrated. I think.
In what way? Just musically?
They can't possibly deserve this much attention over all other music. It can't possibly be weighted that way, that there's so many books and podcasts and movies and reissues. It can't possibly be that the scales are, here's everything else and here's this one band.
Yeah.
And yet,
yes,
I listened to 3 hours of the Nothing Is Real guys talking about Hey Jude. So I'm part of the market for it.
Because it's the Beatles, that it's not just the music. You can't take the Beatles' impacts on music into account if you just really look at the music. It's the whole cultural aspect of the Beatles and the kind of the impact they had on our psyche kind of growing up. I think that's why they occupy that position.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and I also think it's a soap opera we all like. It's men of a certain age. I don't want to say men, but I sort of do, because I think it's mainly men. I feel like I should apologize and say, well, not all men, but all these podcasts I listen to, and both of us, it's usually men. It's a soap opera. I think it's a bit like our Archers, and I think that going once again to the Nothing Is Real podcast, which is my favorite Beatles podcast, I think they know that and embrace it. Okay, we're going to talk this week about the weekend when John went on holiday to a village in Ireland or whatever. What did happen? That it's just it's gossip, and it's great, and we just want more of it. But going back to my overrated thing, they just can't be that good. It's just a quirk of society that we spill all of this fascination with the 60s and everything, guitar bands, and it all lands at the feet of this one band. I think there's a lot of contextual and historical reasons as to why that's ended up being the Beatles.
Yeah.
And one of those reasons is they're really brilliant, but it's definitely more complicated than that, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you think of the new version of "Got to Get You Into My Life"?
I enjoyed it. I think it's obviously an unfinished song at that stage. Oh, it's an unfinished production, isn't it? Because the song's there, and it's even if I said it sounded like it could have been off Rubber Soul, but even if it was going on Rubber Soul, it still wouldn't be that version. There would be more work done to it, I think. So it's obviously still them sort of roughing bits out in the studio. I really love. It's kind of hard to remember. I should have listened to the original first because it's hard to remember which bits stay on the original version. So I really love the guitar sound playing the riff. Down, 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 down. That's great. That.
Yeah.
And there was a bit of backing vocals towards the end that I don't think is on the finished version. Now, I really like those backing vocals, but there's probably no space for them with all that brass.
There's just somebody at my there's just somebody at my door, Darren.
Okay.
Carry on talking.
I'm gonna keep talking. Wow. So I drew Paul. I hope you can tell that's Paul. Tried to do it as quickly as possible. Inspired, funnily enough, by the line art of manga artist, mangaka Taiyo Matsumoto, who wrote my favourite manga ever, I think, Ping Pong, which is a tale of competitive table tennis in the high school tournaments. It's really, really good. And he's got a very wobbly line that you don't often see in manga. Manga's very precise. So it's a real breath of fresh air to see his lines, his pen line. And I realised they look kind of drawn quite quickly. So I thought this was a good chance to see if I can get anywhere close. Are we back, Darren?
Yeah,
back. The drugs have been delivered, have they?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know that I've actually, maybe just once I've heard. I don't know that I've ever heard a version of a new version or a newly discovered version of a Beatles song that I thought they were fools not to release that.
Yeah.
I think through.
And do you think that's? Sometimes I wonder if that's because of familiarity with the version that was released.
I definitely do think it with other bands. I do think it with the Velvet Underground. The Velvet Underground released probably about 10 or 15 years ago. They released an expanded version of Loaded, where it was suddenly revealed that Lou Reed had Satellite of Love, and they did a pretty good version of it. And that was kind of mind-boggling because they'd already released 2 albums of outtakes, VU and another VU. And that was kind of that's the equivalent of Hey Jude turning up on one of these. That's hold on, you had this song 4 years previous to Transformer and you just sat on it. I don't think anything quite like that happens with the Beatles. I don't think we ever go, oh my God, there are just, rooms and rooms of tapes with songs just as good as Don't Let Me Down or something.
Yeah.
Which I think is also...
Most of those songs that kind of in another reality would have maybe been on the next Beatles album and stuff. They all made it to solo projects anyway, didn't they? All the good stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I suppose there is that, isn't there? There's sort of things like Junk and Teddy Boy and Jealous Guy that do turn up a little bit. So maybe, okay, I stand corrected. Maybe that is a little bit like the Satellite of Love thing, but they all sort of sound a bit unfinished, don't they? There's that thing when it turned up in Get Back where you see George Harrison presenting them with All Things Must Pass.
Yeah.
And it seemed like a very sort of online reaction to go, oh my God, you know, John Lennon and Paul McCartney barely give it any attention. What idiots they are for passing up All Things Must Pass. What morons they are. And it's like, yeah, but, you know, All Things Must Pass is a great song, but it's very textural, isn't it? It's very, the thing that makes All Things Must Pass is, you know, all the strings and the Spectre production and also the mythology around that record.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm not saying if I wasn't in the room, I might also said, yeah, you know, needs a bit more of a chorus, George. You know, I might have
well,
said
yeah,
it.
particularly when you've got in the same sessions, Paul McCartney's just idly playing backseat of my car.
Yeah,
like it's nothing.
Yeah. And also, like John Lennon is bringing up, constantly bringing in gem after gem every single day. Definitely turning up to the Get Back sessions with his best work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're totally getting plenty of sleep, wide awake, going for it.
An absolute powerhouse of a songwriter, you know, never quits. I thought of one exception, actually. I thought one exception of a version of a Beatles song that I really like. There's a version of And Your Bird Can Sing on Anthology, which is really good. It's got like this really driven, I think it's a Rickenbacker kind of sound, almost like a fast kind of bird sound to it. And they're laughing over it.
Yes, I know
they start
that
singing
one.
And they corpse. And it was used on the it was used as the end credits on one of the episodes of Anthology. And I've often thought if they had good lyric, if they had like a good vocal take on top of that, I think I would prefer that to the released version of And Your Bird Can Sing. But other than that, I think I would still stick to the original version of Got to Get You Into My Life.
Yep, me too.
It's hard, isn't it? Because you've heard it one way all your life, and then you hear it another way, and part of your brain goes, oh, that's a bit different.
Repetition, maybe listen to it a few times and it could become your favourite.
It's got to battle, 40 years of hearing the song now, hasn't it?
I would say I think the song is it's a fairly slight song. I think it'd be easy to replace it with a different version so you can get used to it. I don't think it's the best one.
No, I do think it's a really good song for McCartney starting to do musical cosplay.
Yes.
I think it's one of the sort of, not the first time he did it, but one of the earlier times when he isn't doing a 60s Merseybeat thing and his, okay, let's do a song like these guys or these guys.
Yeah.
Which of course sometimes is his downfall. I think the reason why some people think of him as the whimsical one is because of that dress up occasionally.
Yeah. But I think a lot of our greatest musicians, songwriters do that. They've got several Paul McCartney's got more than one voice, hasn't he? Both in terms of kind of songwriting, but just his singing voice, he's got more than one voice. I think someone like Kate Bush often takes on a character. I think Stevie Wonder does. I think all the really great singers have got a knack of doing that, but still sounding like themselves at the same time.
I'm still not sure either of those two can quite jump genre like McCartney could. And maybe McCartney was first for doing it. I don't remember the Rolling Stones doing a 1920s vaudeville song and a sort of bit of a country hoedown on next.
No.
And it's
they pretended to be a blues band for 40 odd years, 60 years, isn't it, God? Well, I enjoyed it. I will definitely listen again.
We've done well because we've done this so far, and I haven't done my Rolling Stones rant. I haven't really done my John Lennon rant, and I haven't done my Giles Martin rant.
Let's save them for a deep dive, shall we?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Beatles, for being there. God. So look at these pictures, though. We are no slouches, are we? We've done really well there.
I have done a good job in like 3. How long's the track? So let me see how long it is. I'm going to try and sell this, and it's going to be really embarrassing to tell my customer.
Oh, I'm selling this for more money than I've ever sold a boat before. This is my Guernica.
we did those in 2 minutes 36 seconds.
Yes.
All right, isn't it? Very, very McCartney. Thumbs up. Yeah. So seriously, people, if you're watching this and you want to buy these, there's a lot of reasons why they're not going to be 50p each. We'll deal with that in another episode.
Brilliant, that was lots of fun.
Jolly good. Right. Say goodbye, Darren.
Goodbye, Darren.
Bye, Darren.